Why he withholds intimacy in your relationship. Yes, did you know that men can actually refuse to be physically intimate with their beautiful ladies, regardless of how gorgeous they are? If you didn't know this, then this is something that you need to know because most relationships will go through this. In this video, I am going to be discussing the reasons why this happens, and perhaps we can talk about how we can fix it. So I will see you right after this. Hello, my name is Chengi. I am your dating and a relationship expert here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy, where my coaches and I teach you, beautiful swans, how to date and relate like a high value, high status, and high worth woman that quality men find completely irresistible. Can I get an amen? If that sounds like you, then welcome. Right, why would a man withhold intimacy? Now, we had a beautiful podcast on this channel and on the Black Swan Live podcast with the Heather Tucker, who is our Christian sex coach. She is a fantastic coach and definitely worth you checking out her work and following her on her Insta. I promise you, she is unorthodox and you might not like the amount of twerking going on, but you might actually. But I love her conversation around sex, sexuality, especially for those of us who are religious and who have a very high moral code around sexuality. One of the things that happens in relationships, whether you are married or in an exclusive relationship or in a long-term relationship, is that at some point, not every relationship goes through this, but at some point your partner may start to lose interest in you sexually and you can go through some dry spells. Now, if you're the girl who just has too much of it and you're thinking, oh, save me, then perhaps that will be another video for you of how you can manage your sexuality, and maybe we can bring Heather back to have that conversation with us, because I know that there's some of us who are married or in relationships who are like, can I get a break? Can I get a break? But there are many of us out here who are dealing with sex famine, what they call bed death. Or in a relationship where it seems like your male partner is toying with sex. So let's talk about the reasons why this happens. Number one, he may be experiencing erectile dysfunction, okay? This is something that some men are not comfortable talking about. I have heard of relationships where husbands have literally been taking medication and didn't tell their wives, but what they did instead was just refuse to be intimate with them. This can happen to any man for multiple reasons. Usually, sometimes the physiological thing, sometimes it has to do with conditions, physical conditions that they cannot control. Sometimes it really just has to do with a psychological block or trauma. But whatever the case is, it is likely that the reason why the intimacy, the physical intimacy in your relationship has been withheld. And it may feel really awful. It may feel like you're no longer attractive or sexy and that he no longer wants you. But sometimes it has to do with him. And we're going to talk about some of the things that we can do. In this case, it's really about having an honest and vulnerable conversation. And if you find that is not working, then there will be other reasons why he is withholding intimacy, and we're going to go on to reason number two. Reason number two, usually and most often, is when a man is getting laid elsewhere. He will, either because of guilt or way too much sexual activity, will refuse to have or withdraw from having physical intimacy with his current partner, the partner that he feels will tolerate it, the partner that he feels is not going anywhere. Sometimes it's because he's either a married man And if you're married, he might be having an affair with somebody else who, is sexually intimate with him in a way that he likes, and maybe he just does not want to, he feels no obligation to satisfy this need because you're already tied in. Sometimes it's because he is dating multiple partners, and so having sexual intercourse with you is not a priority because he can get it 6 days a week, etc. Usually when men withhold intimacy from their long-term partners, usually it's because they are having sex elsewhere with somebody else. And that is a different video for a different time. I don't want to get into why they're doing it, but sometimes that is the case. That's if he doesn't have any physiological issues or any kind of trauma that you know of. Usually it's because he is being intimate with somebody else somewhere else. The next point is that some trauma has been triggered. Maybe he had sexual trauma when he was younger, and it's all coming to the surface, or during therapy, or during something, trauma has been triggered for him. And I know that we think that men don't have sexual trauma as much as women. It's just that men don't report it or talk about it as much, but men do suffer from a lot of sexual trauma, especially when they were molested by a woman. They tend to not talk about it because they enjoy the experience. Like most women fear to talk about it because they enjoy the experience of molestation, or because they just feel that as men, that is something that they have to just live with. But that can cause dysregulation and dysfunction at some point in their lives as they go through an awakening, a spiritual awakening, or something begins to happen. The next point is he has lost sexual attraction to you. Now, this can happen because you have drastically changed the way that you look. Maybe you have put on a lot of weight, or you've lost a lot of weight, or something has transformed the way you look. Maybe just life happening, and you may have transformed the way you look. If the relationship was not built on anything of great depth, if it wasn't a spiritual connection or something way deeper in terms of the conversation of that relationship, then he will lose physical attraction, and that often is seen in withdrawing. Of course, if you ask him, he's probably going to say you're still beautiful, or whatever the story is. But if you know that you've gained a heck of a lot of weight, or you've lost a lot of weight, and he was into a bit of a thick girl and now you're a skinny girl because that's what's in fashion, or whatever you may have changed along the way, then he would have lost sexual attraction, or you just probably don't take good care of yourself like you did in the first days. Something has changed and his physical attraction for you has waned. You may still want to be in a loving relationship with you, but he may have lost physical attraction.
Simple steps to join Black Swan community. Download the Black Swan app from either Google Play Store or Apple Store. Launch the app and tap on register. Put in your valid information, then tap on continue. Put in the verification code sent to your email to authenticate your account. Then log into your account. Be sure to accept all permissions displayed at installation stage to enjoy all the cool features in the app. You can now enjoy a community of high-value women with support from coaches and trainers. Book calls with coaches, chat, post, and interact with the community. Enjoy!
The next one, which is quite common in this modern day, especially with men who are broke, this is going to be quite evident. If your guy is broke and he has no money and you are the breadwinner or you are the one running things, usually he does not have any sense of self-power, because often men find their power by being providers, by doing good, to feel good. They feel powerful in the relationship because they're needed by their partner to do something wonderful and profound for her. If this is a man who needs you to pay his bills, who needs you to help him eat and survive in life, he is going to use whatever he thinks is within his power, and he is going to start to withhold sex from you and physical intimacy from you as a way of wielding some kind of power within the relationship. The reality of it is every relationship goes through the power play dynamic. And when that bit hits, people start to look at what they bring to the table, and they start to look at the power dynamic, because ultimately, unless we have done a lot of work on ourselves, a lot of low level consciousness people, and there are many of them who are in a dating relationship, when they get to the power play side side, which is the second phase of the relationship, they begin to have things to speak of. They want to be right. They want to be the one that drives the relationship and have the prevailing narrative in the relationship. And so what happens at this point is a man who was in love when the honeymoon phase is over, he was happy for you to do all the paying. Now all of a sudden it seems like he is withholding sex because he wants you to be in a position where you were submissive. And as a result, he ends up being the submissive. He ends up becoming the feminine in the relationship because he doesn't have the ability to be the masculine. So this is quite common when you're dating broke men. At first, you have all the physical intimacy you can imagine, but after a while, it begins to wane when he starts to feel like, he has no bargaining chips, and maybe, and this is quite common when it comes to the power play. The last thing on my list, and not the only thing I could exhaust, we could be here all day, it is that he is possibly asexual or gay. If he is asexual, it means he has no natural sexual drive. He may be intimately connected to you. He may have more of a desire to be emotionally intimate, but he may not desire physical intimacy in the same way. Being asexual is, something that is very special in your body, in your chemistry, in your psychology, where you just don't need the physical touch. And sometimes that is triggered by trauma, but sometimes it's just how you were born. They are people that are just natural eunuchs, as the Bible speaks, people who just don't desire sex, but desire that emotional intimacy. And so your guy could have been that guy who was probably trying really hard in the beginning to give you what you need, even though he wasn't particularly getting much in the way of desire or satisfaction. And he possibly may be gay, and you may be the beard or the woman that is kind of covering that up for him because he's not ready to come out and live out loud. He's still hiding in the closet. And so these relationships often without a shadow of a doubt will experience a lot of bed death in the relationship. Of course, these are all handled by conversations. All of the above are handled by honest, vulnerable conversations about how you feel about the relationship. And if your partner is open to having these conversations, then you are possibly in a very healthy relationship. If he doesn't gaslight or make it about you, but is able to be honest and vulnerable back and just let you know what the problems are so you can work through them or go through therapy, or be honest with you, then you are in a great relationship, and this is a man that is worth holding on to. If there is incompatibility, as in he's asexual and you are very sexual, then of course we have an incompatibility, and it's okay for us to walk away as friends in a loving way and to normalize breakups that are not full of drama or trauma. It's perfectly okay to know that, okay, this is an issue of incompatibility. And if, of course, it's just a matter of the fact that he's being manipulative, that relationship is going to come to a dry, crushing halt anyway, because at the end of the day, the intention behind one person's being there was never noble. It was never built on a firm foundation. What is really important for us to know is before or after marriage, whenever you are in an physically intimate relationship with a man, you have to understand that there will be times, even in the best of marriages, where he's just not interested 20 years later, 15 years later, and sometimes has nothing to do with you. But that conversations around it and being very honest and being clear about what you are prepared or not prepared to do, whether you are at a place at this point of having this conversation where you are ready for a divorce or ready to walk away or ready to decide what it is that you want to do. You must be very clear about what you want to be the outcome of this relationship. What can I say? It is the way that it is. Relationships are not smooth sailing. Like I say, they're always for the mature. The relationship, get the ring and relationship course that will be coming to you soon. Keep an eye out at the Black SWAN Relationship Academy, where we will talk about some of these dynamics that happen within a relationship. And for those of you who are hoping for a relationship, please understand that these are some of the conversations that we'll be having, especially in the new Black SWAN Nation, where my coaches and I will be having a special relationship group. So if you are in a relationship and you would like a weekly support and you would like to be able to access help, please join the new Black Swan Nation, and the link will be in the description below. We look forward to seeing you and having you and supporting you in the group coaching sessions that happen in the Black Swan Nation. Do download the Black Swan app, and we look forward to chatting with you. Make sure you pick up the phone, download the app, and make a call, because we cannot wait to speak to you and meet you. In the meantime, do take care of you. Love you lots. Bye-bye. Well done for coming to the end of this video. What I want to ask you is, what have you learned? What is your takeaway? And what are you going to start practicing right away? Those 3 things are how you are going to get the best out of every class here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy. Please put it in the comments so that we can all have a look. So I can have a look, the coaches can have a look, and I promise you, we read every comment. We may not be able to reply to every comment, but we read all your comments, and we want to see how you are growing. And we will see you on the next video.